Morning, ladies and gentlemen. When you read, what you're doing is gleaning somebody else's ideas. When you write, you are persisting your ideas, your own ideas, for generations to come. When you think, what you're doing is articulating these ideas and creating value out of them. Welcome to Read, Write, Think. Today, I'm holding in my hands a book by the name Breaking Up with Mary Jane. About 2 weeks ago, I ran into a man called John Hermit. Well, he calls him John Hermit. He has another name, John Asogonnde. And he invited me to his book launch. I couldn't make it, but I later picked up this book from him. Now, when you look at the title of the book, you probably will think it's about relationships, but it's not. It's about relationships, but it's not about the kind of relationships you may be thinking about. The name Mary Jane here actually refers to marijuana. He, in this book, relates to us his own personal experience about breaking up or quitting using the use of marijuana. And he writes it in a very poetic fashion. He begins the story with something that looks like prose, writing in a very prose-like fashion regarding the tenacity with which marijuana held onto him, the passion with which that relationship was growing, the effects, for example, on his finances, the effects on his ability to come up with creative ideas, the effects on his clarity of thought and his relationship with other people, and all that. He writes it, but he writes it as if Mary Jane is a girlfriend who is distracting him from his purpose in life. And he eventually goes into another part of the book where he begins to talk about quitting marijuana in 30 days. For each day, he gives a series of steps that you have to take in order to break the habit. And he highlights the fact that breaking the habit is not something that you can do very easily. It's something that you have to work hard at, something that you have to, first of all, define why you want to break out from this habit. And I can allude to the fact that such steps would also apply where you have other bad habits you want to break. The first thing you need to do is to define why, what benefits, what is the target, what is the vision you want to paint in your soul as to why you want to break free from that habit. And that is where that's day one of the 30-day journey of breaking away from Mary Jane. And he goes on to I am sure what he's writing is a lot from his experience, because at certain points, on certain days, he describes what you are likely to experience. For example, days when the urge is likely to really hit you hard, and what you need to do, practical steps like using water, using toothpicks, taking a walk, doing some exercise, avoiding certain companies and all that. And he goes into quite some level of detail in describing the steps to pulling away from Mary Jane. He further, he just weaves into the whole story his own experience with this interesting habit. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind as I read this book was the fact that certain countries are actually legalizing a recreational use of marijuana. And I have a friend of mine, a big friend of mine, who is marketing a certain product that is made from a toned down version of marijuana. Some people want to avoid it because it's marijuana, but then you find out it's very helpful. So this book, I do not think that he's referring to the leaf itself, but addiction, like we would be addicted to any other thing, like social media, for example, or our telephones, our mobile phones, or even food. There are so many kinds of addictions, and I think the principles that he communicates, that John Hermit communicates in this book, are useful for anyone who wants to break a bad habit. Now, on the downside, I think that the story that begins the book could have been more detailed as to how what his experiences were. I think that maybe he could have given us more detail. He could have been more graphic in his description of the events and effects of Mary Jane on his life. I think that is where he could have added a little more twist to it. Maybe it would have been a longer book, because the concepts are quite deep. The concepts are quite relevant to our generation, relevant to a few. I believe it was late last year when tramadol became a topic on social media, because of the rate at which young people were being messed up by addiction to something as trivial, so to speak, as tramadol. So these are relevant things that he's writing in his book, Breaking Up with Mary Jane. And I want to say that you would agree with me that people who are addicted are not going to walk into a bookshop and buy this book typically. So you who care about them, get the book for yourself, get the book for someone in your family who is addicted, someone in your family who is addicted to something, particularly drugs. And I think it will be a great help in pulling away from this kind of devastating relationship. Thank you for staying with us today. My name is Kenneth Igiri, and this is Read, Write, Think.